Some great reads this week, and some great reads to come. Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and this is my weekly reading roundup for the week ending March 31st, 2025. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also a booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2 and 3, His Dark Material Season 3, and the newly released Blessed Be the Eternal, the Idan trilogy main theme for Philip Chase's wonderful fantasy trilogy, linked below. So, I wanted to talk to you all about a weekly reading roundup. As I always do every week, I kind of try to release this on Monday mornings because I figure a great way to start the week and kind of review the week and look at the week ahead. So, if you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. And now, on to the books. So, I had a pretty good reading week this week, but I was also focused on quite a few music projects, so I was trying to fit in reading where I could, and I was feeling a little exhausted at the end of the day, and I found it harder to concentrate on books. So, I tried to do something a little different this week, and try to read a little bit earlier in the day, before the day really kind of took off. So I read another 100 pages or so of Ships of Merrier. Still haven't made quite a dent in it. I was hoping to get to the halfway mark by the 31st, the end of this month, so I could spend April reading the rest of it. So I'm going to have to hustle a little bit in April, but that's okay. I'm really glad I'm taking my time with this book because I think it's one of those that really needs it. Jenny Wirtz's writing style is beautiful, but it's also dense and it takes some time to get through, and you really... you want to make sure that you're kind of slowing down and letting the words really sit with you for a little bit. So it's thought-provoking, it's nuanced, it's just great. I'm really enjoying my ride here so far. And I gotta say, I think I like it more than the first book, The Curse of the Mistwraith, in her Wars of Light and Shadow series. Even more. I'm liking this, even with the couple hundred pages I've read so far. So the dance continues, the journey continues. Next, I got a chance to finally finish Stephen King's The Night Shift, 1978 short story collection, basically his first short story collection, and arguably a lot of people say it was his best. So where does it land for me? I liked it. I wouldn't say that it blew my hair back, though. There were a couple of stories like The Mangler that I absolutely adored. Quitter's Ink was kind of creepy. The Ledge was fantastic. The Ledge was one of my favorites, about a guy who's basically forced to walk a small ledge of his building in exchange for the love of his life and his freedom and some money or something like that. So I'm gonna leave it spoiler free that way. But those stories were great. Jerusalem's Lot was great. One for the Road, which is kind of a continuation of Salem's Lot, felt a little unnecessary, but it was cool. It was scary. It had some scares in it, so that was really cool. But I wouldn't say that all the stories were as consistent as I'd hoped they would be. The stuff that I liked was very classic King in that it's more horror rather than leaning hard into the coming-of-age stuff, the character stuff, which I really like in other short story collections or novellas. Like if you look at 4 Past Midnight, which is a novella collection, or Different Seasons, another novella collection. Even You Like It Darker, his newest entry, which is just a collection of short stories similar to Night Shift, but I feel like the characters are more developed. The situations are really character based, so you get to know them in all their messiness, but without the book stretching too long and having any plotting middle points, which sometimes on Stephen King novels you see. So I really like that collection more actually than Night Shift, which I was surprised because classic King, you would think that it would win the day always, right? But sometimes, he got better as a writer, I think, as he went. I mean, you see it and the way that was written versus like even Salem's Lot, which is one of his best, but the writing is even more mature. So I don't know, that's how I felt about it, but I would love to know if you agree or disagree. So let me know in the comments for sure, because I always love having a dialogue with you all and hearing your thoughts and opinions on this stuff, because ultimately, that's why I did this channel in the first place, is to connect with fellow book lovers. And that's the best part about this whole thing, right? Is I don't know very many people around here who read more than a book in a year. So to be able to read a book in a week and chat with you all is really, really fun. So that was the other one I read. The third book I kind of focused some attention on. So I'm at about 65% mark now on A Journey Thrice Begun, a fantasy debut novel by Sean Bobby Kerr, who's a very kind friend of the channel and graciously gifted me a Kindle copy of his book. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying it so far. I feel like the characters are really unique in terms of, it has kind of a whimsical fantasy feel and a lot of comedy and humor, but it's also got some gut punch moments. I feel like what Everett Dwyer goes through is just like, this guy can't catch a break, So it's really cool to see his arc kind of from the Charing night where he's proposing to his love Isolde to kind of where the character goes from there. So it's been really fun watching that journey, and I'm looking forward to continuing the journey as more books get released. But I'll keep you all posted once I finish that one. Again, Sean, thank you so much for sending it. And with all these books that I've mentioned, I'm leaving a link to them below so you can check them out for yourself and see if they're right for you. So let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to read this week. So as I alluded to, I am going to be reading a couple of the books from the April TBR, which I'd put up a video last week, and more on that later. But I'm going to continue on James Michener's Alaska, a huge, almost 1,100-page tome on the history of Alaska, from the first humans, the woolly mammoths fighting for their young, to the humans who crossed the Bering Strait, all the way to fast forwarding to the year 1700s, late 1700s, where Bering himself is crossing this Bering Strait and the Bering Sea, where that was aptly named. And, the Russians are trying to cross over and see like what's going on with these Aleutian Islands. Really fascinating stuff. So, I've crossed like almost 29,000 years of history so far in these few hundred pages. So I'm excited to continue on this journey. And if you haven't read James Michener, he's a fascinating author. He's written books on Alaska, one on Hawaii, one on Afghanistan, one on the South Pacific, one on Texas. These different books that kind of look at the history of these places, and not only the cultural history, but also the geographical history and how that played a part into the first settlers there. So really, really great stuff. This is, further deepening my love of historical fiction, you guys. Like, I am going to go on a historical fiction kick this year, I think, because everything I've read historical fiction-wise has been bangers. Ken Follett, I read 2 of his Century Trilogy books right now. I read Shogun. I'm reading this, and they're all long as hell, but they're great. So I'm excited for that. And, it's so funny. It's like, I feel like with a lot of these weekly updates lately, I've just had nothing but good things to say about these books. And I think it's just like, I think I've just been on a really lucky streak of reading good books or something, because I don't always feel this way, but somehow it has been this way. So I always say strike while the iron is hot, right? So if the reads are going good, keep on the journey. So that was the other one I'm going to be reading. The second book I'm going to be reading this week is Ship of Magic, which I'm reading with John from Disquiet and Dragons, Ellie from Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. I'm linking both their channels below because they're wonderful human beings as well as great booktubers. And they both have something unique to offer the space. So I really want more people to see their channels as well. Whatever I can do to help serve that purpose. But it's been really fun. I've been a little behind, honestly, because of other reads. But I'm looking forward to catching up to Ellie. I think she's the furthest along of us 3 so far. And I've been enjoying the journey. I will say, so far, I'm a little past the 50% mark. It hasn't blown my hair back in the same way that the Farseer trilogy did. But then again, this book is better as a first book in the Live Ship Traders trilogy, which is, sub-series of Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderling series. I like this first book better than the first book in the Farseer trilogy. So, if they get even better, who knows, But I am enjoying it quite a bit. I'm loving all the characters. I think the characters are better written than the Farseer trilogy, but the Farseer trilogy had more memorable characters to me, if that makes sense. So that's how I'm feeling about it right now, but I'm excited to continue on the journey. And of course, have to do this one. The official channel read-along continues. The dance continues for Malazan Book of the Fallen, the 10 very big books. We are going to be starting with book 3. Memories of Ice. A lot of people cite this as a high point in the series, so I'm very looking forward to seeing where I land on it. I absolutely love Dead House Gates. I can't say enough good things about that book. That's an easy 5-star read for me, and we will see if it ended up making Book of the Month. I guess you'll have to wait for my monthly wrap-up to come out, but it has left me very excited about Memories of Ice and to see where we revisit some of the old characters on Gardens of the Moon. So that's really cool because we had to go away from them for a little while in order to, kind of visit the characters and the lore and the storylines that are found in Deadhouse Gates. So I'm excited to return. And if you're all reading this alongside me, let me know in the comments. I know a few people are behind and they are catching up, with Deadhouse Gates and stuff. And I always say these things, take it at your own pace. The read along is to provide some structure around it, but please know that, you have plenty of time to catch up. After this, there will be another break month in May, and then we'll start the next book in June and so on and so forth. And you could check out the calendar below as well in the link in the description, and also the FABLE app where you can look at a chapter by chapter analysis as we break down this book, and then also the Discord channel, of course, which are almost 70 people now, and we're all talking voraciously about the books we're addictively reading. So excited to read this one. I think this is the one I'm most excited about this month, so it'll be a really nice journey. And if I have time, I might dip into a little bit of Third Rule of Time Travel by Philip Fracassi, which I mentioned in the last update, and also in my April TBR, which I will link above here so you can check that out. But I'm very excited about this one because I've heard he kind of is reminiscent of Blake Crouch, a technological thriller author that I really enjoy. And actually Mike from Mike's Book Reviews, kindly introduced me and so many other people too. So, and he also introduced me to this book because he is the master of, slaying my TBR in all the best ways possible. So I'm excited to kind of check that one out. And that's much smaller and it's a quicker read. So it'll be a nice palate cleanser with these dense, historical fiction epics and Maozan and everything. So that's kind of what I'm going to read. Let's talk a little bit about this week on the channel. So I released 2 videos in addition to my weekly reading roundup. The first one was, as I mentioned, the April TBR, where I talk about like 5 or 6 books that I want to read. At least, some of them I'm halfway through, some of them I have yet to start. And so I'm leaving the link to that above if you want to check that out. The second video I did, and I was thrilled because, a lot of people don't watch book reviews on Booktube. It's just kind of a known thing. And I was so thrilled to see that it had gotten some decent viewership, which was the Deadhouse Gates review, the book 2 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And I was actually very surprised because, it's book 2 of a series, right? You would think it would have even less engagement, but somehow people really enjoyed that video. And I worked really hard with putting some music and sound effects and images and talking a little bit about not only the book, what it's about, the characters, the themes, a spoiler-free section, a spoiler-filled section, all kind of delineated with timestamps. So it was great to dive into one of my favorite books of recent memory. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you all think about it. If you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, I hope you will check it out and let me know your thoughts in the comments there. So that was the second video I released. I also got a chance to, and this was one of the highlights of the week for me personally, was to go on my friend Chaz from Bookish Chaz's channel for his Chaz and Friends segment, where we basically talked about reading, we talked about music, we talked about life, and it was very much like Mike's Book Reviews Talk About Nothing segment, or like my Shelf Talkers segment. Just the idea of like, let's just hang out on a weekend and chat together and get to know each other better and create a fun live discussion. So we had a great time chatting for like an hour and a half on Saturday, and I'm leaving the link to that above as well. Chaz, thank you so much for having me on, man. It's just like every time we get to chat, like you're one of the kindest people on Booktube, and you've been so gracious at welcoming me with open arms even when I first joined, and you're part of the reason that makes Booktube such a wonderful community and space. So really appreciate you, man. And for all of you, I hope you'll check out his channel and, of course, that video as well. So let's talk a little bit about next week. So next week, I will be out of town from Wednesday to Saturday, but rest assured, video content coming at a clip as usual. So I want to get out 2 more videos in addition to this weekly reading roundup. The first one is going to be my March 2025 monthly wrap-up, where I talk about how did the reading go, how did the music go on the music front segment, kind of expand it out for the month. and then just about anything that's booktube adjacent, and you know, what videos I released, how's the channel doing, because I always say I'm the steward and the guardian of the channel, but it's our channel, and I have a vested interest in making it a space for all of us. So I want you to always know how the channel is doing, good or bad, and kind of what we can do to keep improving it. So to that point, if you think of anything that would be a suggestion, please feel free to use comments as a suggestion box, because I read all the comments, I answer all the comments, and I try to answer them as quickly as possible. And I would love to keep making this channel something that makes value for you and enhances your reading experience. So that's kind of the thoughts on that. And then the second video I want to do is, I've been kind of wanting to do this for a while, is kind of my take on the positive and negative sides of Booktube, and kind of where do we go from here as a Booktube community. Because I feel that the Booktube community and Book Talk really have provided, at a time when literacy rates in the US, for example, are going down, at a time when people are reading less books in general, to bring excitement not around just books, but the lifestyle of reading, the lifestyle of packaging books, you know, of looking at the amazing covers, that is getting more people to read in different ways. And I love that about Booktube. I think Booktube also comes with its own trappings, which is the materialistic culture of wanting to buy every edition and the FOMO that comes with that, or feeling like, hey, if I'm not reading 20 books a month, I'm not like a good reader, you know, and stuff like that. So I kind of want to talk about both the positive and the downsides of the Booktube community, which is personally my favorite community online, and kind of what we can do as a community to keep moving forward in a positive direction. I figure, you know, everyone has unique insights based on their personal experience about this, and I just kind of wanted to offer mine in case that was of interest to you all. So that's another video I want to talk about here on the channel. So that's kind of my thoughts. Let's talk a little bit about the music front, because a little bit of it was kind of Booktube related, but some of it was also just music project related. So starting with, I worked on a main theme for my wife's game called The Magical Rejects. It's like a Sailor Moon inspired, Japanese anime inspired video game, and they're working on it right now. And so I wrote a theme song, like kind of an anime theme song inspired by that. And it was a blast, and they really liked it. I kind of adapted it to some of the lyrics written by them, and you know, kind of wrote a first version. So I'm going to work on that a little bit more this week. I did a little bit of wrap up for my GDC Game Developers Conference that I went to, kind of making some more connections there. And then I worked on some more music projects. I just released a new single, you guys. So it is called The Answer, and it's something that I have always kind of, through just reading and introspection, have kind of discovered about myself and just kind of the world at large, where we're at in the world in terms of the never-ending cycle of constantly fighting with the world to try to change it, and figuring out also that the change can come from within, and it manifests in the outer world, you know. And a lot of the things I've been reading, a lot of the conversations I've had have made me feel more strongly about that, and I wanted to put it into a song. So I hope you enjoy it. A lot of love went into it, and I recorded the guitar myself, the bass, the piano, the vocals, and I had a drummer, David Myers, he's played for Frank Ocean, he's played for John Mayer. He's an incredible drummer and a great friend. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this song and the love that went into it. So I'm linking that above as well, and in the description, so you can check it out. And then also Booktube related. So as I mentioned, I worked on the Hills of Tanchiko, the Wheel of Time song. That is going to be debuting in an episode, possibly this week or next week. So you keep an eye out for that, and I'm linking that as well up here, the track that was released by Sony Music. I'm very proud of it because it was really fun to work with the actors and try to record their parts as well remotely from here at like 4 or 5 a.m. as I phoned into Prague to chat with them. And it was like a bucket list moment for me. So in case you're interested in checking that out, you could check that out up there. But I always like to say I love blathering on, and I could always blather on for longer, but I'm more interested in what you all read this week. What happened to you? Anything interesting? Anything you want to share? Any cool like bit of news that you want to share? You know, I know a lot of people read the comments, and they are really have a vested interest in supporting each other as a community. So, you know, I will of course be answering the comments, but I know a lot of people would want to lend their support. So let's celebrate you in the comments as well, if you worked on anything cool that you want to talk about. And then of course, you know, anything you read that you would recommend, so we could all put it on our insanely impossible TBRs, as we always do. So I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. Thank you all for being here. You know, this community is one of the highlights of my life. I never knew when I started this channel almost a year ago that it would lead to this, and that it would lead to me meeting such kind people and getting such great recommendations. It's given structure, context, and gratification to my reading experience, and I hope that in some small way it will do for you as well. And whatever I can do to support that cause, I'm all for. So I'm Nick here with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other. I hope you have a fantastic week ahead, everyone, and I will see you in the comments and on the next video. Take care.